Oh, okay. Yeah, it did. It is working.
It's gonna work?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Wolfgang's, but
Okay.
if I go to yours,
Right.
it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello, 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 hello. Now? Not working. Should we try another microphone? Because I think this one was working. Well, but one moment, please. Hello. Okay. Hello and welcome. It's so nice to see so many faces here. Yay. I'm so grateful that we had a day above freezing so that everyone could make it out here. Thank you for coming. We have such a great lineup this year, and I just want to say first to the instructors, just a reminder that we're going to be that this is being live streamed. So make sure to speak right into the microphone so that people online can hear you. After we will go through all these presentations of the classes, please join us across the hall for some food and drinks and conversation. We're going to go ahead and jump right in. So all of our classes start the week of March 16th. There will be one class that starts the next week, and our art class starts at the end of that 6-week term. But for the most part, our classes start the week of March 16th. And we're going to start with we have a couple instructors who are using the screen. So we will start with them going first, and then we will just go through the catalog. So I'm going to call up Wolfgang. Wolfgang. Okay, come on up, Wolfgang. we convinced Wolfgang to do a World War I class because we loved his World War II classes so much.
Well, thank you, Cindy. Thank you, everybody. I see quite a few familiar faces. You then know how we do it in the courses. This is about World War I, which may surprise you. It is not part of the American conscience. Quite different in the UK, quite different in France, where the Great War, as it was called, dominates 20th century history, not necessarily World War II. There are many reasons why Americans don't think a lot about World War I. It's sort of puzzling. One could argue World War I launched the American century, as we call the 20th century. There are many people who compare contemporary politics and policies with the 1930s, but most people, most historians anyway, compared to the situation in Europe at the beginning of the 20th century, in the 19-teens and specifically 1914. There are lots of questions, and I selected a couple of quotes which sort of indicate the different perspectives one can easily come up with looking at World War I. And we'll try to focus on some of them. I did a Google search this morning. There are about 240,000 books and articles written by now on World War I. And I've said this in previous classes many, many times. We will not focus on the good books, only the very best, meaning it's a subjective choice. And obviously, I have made a choice as to what issues we want to focus upon. And here are the 6 items we will try to shed some light on during our upcoming course. The first one, the American perspective, primarily, what was the discussion all about leading up to 1914, and more specifically leading up to 1917, when the United States decided to join the war effort on the side of the Brits and the French and the Russians. Secondly, and that's so obvious, the international environment today cannot be considered without World War I. Arguably, World War I is even more relevant for today than World War II in terms of its ramifications for the international community. And we'll talk about how the Middle East took shape after World War I, immediately after World War I, Asia. We'll talk a bit about the Russian Revolution. Without World War I, communism may not have existed. One can make that argument. And we will also shed some light on the current regime in Moscow, Putin, and so forth. Domestically, the US still today is heavily impacted by the repercussions of World War I, and we will talk about it. I listed here American isolationism and the American First Movement. Obviously, that rings familiar today. And what was different after World War II compared to the aftermath of World War I? What have political leaders done differently? It is obviously that Nazi Germany, Second World War, the Holocaust, was a consequence of the First World War, but not necessarily so. There are some people who say First World War directly, unavoidably led to Nazi Germany. I disagree. Many historians disagree. We will discuss this. And an unusual but very important, often overlooked and underappreciated sub-subject is the impact of the war on literature and the arts. It's quite a wide field, a very interesting field, and we'll spend a whole session on that issue. And our final session will deal with is the comparison with contemporary politics, policies justified. What are the similarities to 1914 or 1917, and what are the dissimilarities? That's 6 sessions, 60 minutes each. We'll make it as active for all participants as possible. We'll get ahead of time a reading list. The most famous book in the broader American audience, I think, is The Guns of August by Barbara Tuchman. Still a very highly recommended book to get an understanding as to the personalities and the history of World War I. I invite you to join, and I'll be delighted to share 6 sessions with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Wolfgang. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Eric Thompson with his comparative mythology class.
Clicker and mic. Hello, hello. Okay. 3 things. I'm going to slip in 2 more. I am doing a brown bag on the history of hell. It's a fascinating topic. Perhaps most people I teach aren't aware that there is absolutely no such thing as hell in the Jewish Bible, right? What Christians call the Old Testament. It's simply no such thing. I got my image of hell here. And so my brown bag lecture, which actually could be a 6-week course, but I'm going to squeeze it into an hour and a half, is going to trace the history and all the cultural components that went into the literal, over centuries, construction, piece by piece, of what ended up to be the Christian concept of hell. Should be interesting. Come on along. I think it's April 1st, brown bag lunch. And then... so I'm on about 3 things. My class, 6-week class, is on comparative mythology. And so I, just one example here. This is an ancient Egyptian papyrus, which is actually a visual representation of one of many Egyptian creation myths. It depicts the sky goddess Nut being held up by the air god Shu, her father, and her husband is Geb, the earth god. And this is a picture of the world as seen through the mythic eyes of ancient Egyptians. So I'm going to cover in this class many different cultures' creation myths, and what often occurs with creation myths are destruction myths, flood myths, which come from all over the world. And in the process, I'm going to fold into the class some items from the most common, most influential, most pervasive myths from the ancient world in our culture that are found today in the Bible. And so Noah will be, that was Noah. Noah will be in there. But in addition to creation myths and flood myths, I will be covering trickster myths and hero's journey myths and heroine's journey myths and apocalyptic myths as a survey, a cross-cultural survey. So that's my comparative mythology. Come on along and take a look. And then finally, finally, I just want to plug an interest group, a lifelong learning interest group that I'm part of, the Artful Codgers, and what we're interested in is theater. And we're doing a performance, a medley of short plays and monologues at the end of the month, a Friday night performance and a Saturday and Sunday matinee, February 27, 28, and March 1st in this very room. So that will be free, and all proceeds that are donated will go to the food pantry. And that's my spiel. Oh, and one of my codger colleagues is here.
On the bench outside where there are catalogs and such, there are a set of handouts. The dates for that performance.
Grab a handout on the way out. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Eric. Oh, microphone. Thank you. I did intentionally put his brown bag lecture on April 1st because you'd never know what to expect from Eric Thompson. Okay, so next up we have a video because Marty Amerikaner, who does the deep dives class, he is not able to be here tonight. For those who are on the live stream, you probably won't be able to hear it, but I will post the video online with a link, maybe, if I can figure that out. You can also email me and I can send it to you. But so this is mostly just for those of you in the room.
Hi, everybody. This is Marty Amerikaner, and I am sure sorry that I'm not there in person, but I'm appreciative of this opportunity to talk a little bit about the class I'm planning for this spring. I'm going to be focusing on the wonderful world of psychotherapy. What I mean is that throughout my career as a psychologist, that was kind of the area that I focused in on. I taught a variety of courses and seminars to graduate students. I taught very practical psychotherapy skills to beginning students and supervised their clinical work in our university clinics. And I continued to offer psychotherapy on a small private practice scale myself. So it's kind of my home base within the discipline. In this course, what I want to do is kind of at a big picture level, look at the range, the variety of psychotherapy approaches that have been developed over the 100+ years of the field sort of taking off. Some estimates say that there are over 500 different models or theories of psychotherapy that have been offered throughout its history. Many of them sort of popped up like daylilies and then kind of disappeared rather quickly, whereas others have really been with us, evolving, changing, adapting to changing times and professional norms, but still have been with us for quite a while. We won't, of course, be able to look at all of those different approaches, but I'm hoping to sort of focus in on a few of the key, the most perhaps widely known, best understood approaches to therapy, while at the same time keeping in mind several of what I think are the most important questions to ask of the field. How well does psychotherapy actually work? Is that even a good question? Or are other things more important in trying to actually figure out the value and utility of the psychotherapy endeavor? When therapy is helpful, why? How? Do we really understand that? Do we know? When it's not, what gets in the way? What might interfere? These are some of the questions that I've been interested in really throughout my career, and I think the field has some things to say about it, but we have nowhere near all the answers. At a very practical level, I'm hoping we can take a look at questions people may have or may have had in the past about how in the world does it make sense to seek out somebody to provide therapeutic help. What should I look for? How do I know if this is a good match or a good approach for me? So in the class, I'm expecting that we will have a combination of some presentations that I'll do. I have some video demonstrations that I'm planning to show at least parts of, and we'll have a good deal of time for class discussion about what we see, what I present, as well as just the questions and reactions that you have from your own experience and that of your friends and family. So I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a fun and interesting ride, and I'm hoping that you will at least consider signing up, and I look forward to seeing you at the beginning of the spring term. Thanks a lot.
Okay, great. So that is Marty's Deep Dives class. And I will just say that Carol Richmond, who is teaching the Reimagining Your Good Life class, along with Larry Newark, she was not able to be here tonight and has repeatedly tried to send me a video, but we can't get the sound to work on it. So I will share that on our listserv or on our website once we work that out. I'm going to call Ray Smock up next so that we can make sure to get him in before he has a important obligation later this evening. His class is the Declaration of Independence at 250 years, very fitting for the theme of the year.
Thank you, Sandy. The class is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration and what that means to all of us. This is the year we'll be celebrating that, and we need to talk about it for a lot of reasons. In the middle of the course, there will be the next No Kings March, and so some of you I know will be interested in that. But that's not what the course is about, how to prepare for the No Kings March. It's really an exploration of what that document meant in its time, when it was written, and what it means to us today and how that has evolved over time. We'll look broadly at cultural issues. We'll look at the politics of how the Declaration became the start of the revolution, and we'll also mention a little bit at the end, the bookend of the revolution, of course, is the Constitution of the United States. So those are the kinds of things we will explore. We'll even look at coins of the era. You wonder why all of our coins have presidents on them. They didn't have them in those days. George Washington never appeared on a coin. We had ideas on our coins, not people. And that's a big difference. And I wish we could get back to that. I don't know why we have presidents on coins. So, and Donald Trump wants a coin issued for him, and he's not even dead. So we'll see how that turns out. I recommended 2 books for the course, and since the catalog went to press, another book came out that I highly recommend to everybody, whether you take the course or not. 67 pages by Walter Isaacson, the great historian. The greatest sentence ever written. It's a story of the Declaration. And of course, the greatest sentence was, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." We'll explore that sentence and what it meant then. All men, come on. And what is happiness? Happiness meant something different in the 18th century than I think the way we would interpret it. So these are the kinds of things we'll explore. We'll have fun doing it, and I highly recommend that you join the course in this bicentennial year. I'm wearing this hat up here. I should take my hat off when I'm speaking in public, but it's a bicentennial hat. And I picked this one in particular because it's one of the few of these souvenir hats that actually uses the word semi-quincentennial. Nobody is going to be talking about the 250th anniversary as the semi-quincentennial. But it's on the hat, and that's why I like the hat. It's a conversation piece, as you can imagine. So I look forward to seeing you in the class. And by the way, in the catalog it says the class is 90 minutes. I punched the wrong button when I filled out the form. I would prefer it to be 60 minutes, and I think you would too. So it'll be a 60-minute class. So thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you all in the class, as many as you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Okay, next up we have Daniel Bennett, Daniel has been doing the Cafe Society for many years, and I had several people request a class on technology, and I'm so grateful that Daniel has stepped in to do this class, which feels really important right now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for Ray, who you can sometimes see at our Cafe Society, and the Cafe Society preceded me by several years. And one of the reasons why I'm leading it is because I'm a techie. So I set it up on the Zoom system when COVID hit. And so everybody is free to take part in it. It is open and free to anybody. And all you have to do is just let me or Cindy know, and we will send you out the Zoom invite, and you can participate any Tuesday morning, pretty much every Tuesday morning of the year, maybe one exception, at 8:30 to 10 o'clock. So please, if you want to talk about the issues of the day or some esoteric things, please feel free to take part. Technology, I want to make it as easy as 1, 2, 3, which is why there's a class, which is going to be 3 classes, but apparently 3 office hours, 3 sessions of office hours after that. But essentially, I have been helping people with technology for over 4 decades. Except, unlike a lot of the geeks maybe that you've talked to, I speak English. So know that these classes are not for people who want to be technologists, but people who just want to get stuff done. And I'll be there to walk you through a whole bunch of different things and be able to answer any of your questions using English. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Next we have Mark Kohut with his Chekhov is Enough class.
Ray, do you remember the old song 60-Minute Man? It reminded me of it. Also, Constitution Day Parade is September 19th this year. You can learn everything you need to be part of that parade, whether you're in his class or not. And before I start on Chekhov, I'm going to ask you what you're doing on March 28th, because we all need to turn out. My class, called Chekhov is Enough, Anton Chekhov, Chekhov is Enough, was named by a friend of mine, Lynn Wagner. Is she here? Said she was going to be. Anyway, maybe she's on Zoom. But when we did Philip Roth and then went into Kafka and Chekhov, people who ask me about this course usually ask, who was he and why him? I tell them he's the least known great Russian writer for lots of reasons. He wrote no novels. He was firm and self-controlled, but endlessly kind. He was a Minnesotan from the port city of Taganrog. He was not a writer with chauvinist sins, not sexist, not mean, or of the nihilistic left, so that one might distrust his objective talent. That is, he was not those, so you trusted his objective talent. He was not a tortured soul like so many writers. His family, when he was young, and he had 2 sisters, a brother, always wanted him around when conflict happened. There was no fear, no anger, no tears. He was also, to allude to an earlier presentation, I'll get there later. He was also a hardworking medical doctor. Many peasants could never pay him, who had worked in his father's general store when he was a boy. The boredom, which he knew like his breathing. He died of TB at 44. Women could fall in love with him just by his energy and exuberance, or by reading his letters. He knew love like women do, see the catalog copy, but he did not marry until a few years before his death. He is the man and writer I want to be when I grow up. But I have one great friend, Howard, who was very like him. World famous as a playwright of just a few later life plays, his stories, however, are defining him more and more. For the last almost 150 years, their reputation continues to grow like Shakespeare's did. Did you know it took 200 years for William Shakespeare to become Shakespeare? So utterly original and subtle that he is not yet fully understood. A couple, three characters in a situation that you don't yet get. In medias res, as they say, is where Chekhov's writing lives. To quote that other poet, my friend Bob, he started out on Burgundy, as Bob Dylan is always singing, writing jokes and short humorous pieces, but soon hit the harder stuff. The best stories about life that anybody was writing at that time. He was the great demythologizer of life. Unusual details, jump cuts in the plainest non-highfalutin prose, 6th grade reading level, it's been determined, as Hemingway's was. He was like an Appalachian when writing about the hollers of Ukraine. Always the little disturbances of man, the real people of Russia, all classes. The ambiguous possibilities of any 2 lines of dialogue is like finding rare minerals glimmering in the dirt in your yard. A hypocritical bureaucrat revealed in a word. A Russian in a troika seeing the slightest flash of light miles ahead and knows it is a man walking with a white birch cane, which does reflect like a bird's eye as dawn slits it open. The angry, impulsive act of a resentful, power-hungry peasant, a woman, which kills a baby that you don't want to know how. How sleep can kill another person. The bishop who dies remembering and laughing while wondering whether it was all worth it. Chekhov's art is what George Eliot wrote of in Middlemarch. If we had a keen vision of and feeling of all ordinary human life, it would be like hearing the grass grow and the squirrel's heart beat, and we should die of that roar which lies on the other side of silence. We will meet Mondays at noon and feelingly help define Chekhov's genius in excruciating line-by-line detail.
Thank you, Mark. Next, we have up Zora Neale Hurston. Linda Tate. Sorry. Linda Tate with her class on Zora Neale Hurston. Linda's class filled up in the first hour of registration, as usual. But feel free to email me, or, by the way, I'm Cindy Powers. I'm the Director of Lifelong Learning. I don't think I said that earlier. Feel free to email me or Patrick Fuller in the back. Wave, hi, Patrick. And we can add you to the wait list. But here, Linda will share what her class is all about.
So last spring, I taught a class for lifelong learning on the Harlem Renaissance, and one of the writers we studied was Zora Neale Hurston. I'm delighted this spring to offer a course focusing just on her. When Alice Walker found Hurston's unmarked grave in the early 1970s, she wanted to honor her literary foremother. She had a tombstone erected that read, Zora Neale Hurston, a genius of the South, novelist, folklorist, anthropologist. Just who was this woman who died in poverty and obscurity, and why did Walker feel compelled to bring renewed attention to her? In this course, we will explore Zora Neale Hurston, a central figure in the Harlem Renaissance, and so much more. We will read a portion of her folklore and anthropology work in her 1935 book, Mules and Men, in which Hurston travels from her studies with famed anthropologist Franz Boas at Barnard College, Columbia University in New York City, to her hometown of Eatonville, Florida, to collect stories from her community and from the nearby Turpentine Camp. We will also explore many of the recordings Hurston made for the Works Progress Administration, recordings that are now available at the Library of Congress's American Memory Project website. As long as they're still available, we're going to look at them. Hurston also published 4 novels in her lifetime, with her most famous being Their Eyes Were Watching God, which she published in 1937. We'll be reading all of that novel. Hurston's novels went relatively unrecognized by the literary world for decades. In 1975, 15 years after Hurston's death, interest in her work was revived after Alice Walker published an article in search of Zora Neale Hurston, later retitled Looking for Zora, in Ms. Magazine. Now Their Eyes Were Watching God is considered one of the seminal works of Black American literature and one of the most important American novels of the 20th century. The reading for the course will be very manageable, unlike the semesters we read David Copperfield and Demon Copperhead, much more accessible and shorter, and quite enjoyable. Hurston knew how to find great stories and how to tell them. We'll be meeting on Mondays from 3:30 to 5. And I wanted to give you a preview of next year, what I'm going to be up to. And when registration opens at 9 a.m. on the first day, you can be in line for these courses. In the fall, I'm going to offer a course on Black women's retelling of African American folk tales. We're going to look at Toni Morrison's novel Song of Solomon and Julie Dash's film Daughters of the Dust. And then in the spring, and I wish I was teaching this at the same time as Wolfgang, I'm going to do a course on Ernest Hemingway's In Our Time, a fantastic composite novel in response to World War I, and Tim O'Brien's The Things They Carried. And we will look at these 2 presentations of war, World War I and the Vietnam War. And the last thing I'll say is there's no limit on this. This doesn't close. I'm offering a brown bag lecture on Monday, March 9th. I'll be telling the story of the Highlander Research and Education Center in Newmarket, Tennessee, which is maybe the greatest social justice center in the United States, founded by Miles Horton in the 1930s as a union organizing center, then became extremely involved in the civil rights movement. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, others gathered at Highlander. The song We Shall Overcome was popularized by my friends Guy and Candy Carawan at Highlander. And I'll be talking about the legacy of Highlander, my time at Highlander, and what Highlander has to do with the Appalachian Studies program at Shepherd.
Thank you, Linda. So on that note, I'll just say that our Brown Bag Lecture Series actually starts before our classes start. So those lectures start on March 4th. And they're mostly Wednesdays from 12 to 1:30, but we have tried to fit in some extras. So when they are on the weeks outside of our classes, there are a couple Monday lectures as well. So pay attention to the dates on those. Okay, so next up we have Pat Donahue, talking about writing for and about women, a writing workshop.
So this is a writing workshop, and we will be sharing writing that we do for the class, but nothing too long or too hard. And the main thing is we want to have fun, we want to support each other, and we want to learn something in the process. this class actually came out of a writing workshop that I actually don't consider myself a teacher, but more of a coach and coordinator for this type of situation. So it actually came out of a writing workshop this past fall that we did on dialogue. And in that, we noticed one day that the writing samples that the participants, and the participants were 7 women besides myself, that several of them had scenes set in a beauty parlor. And we said, isn't that interesting? And we had a very interesting and fun discussion about that and why that might be so. And in the process, we thought, wouldn't it be fun to concentrate more on writing that is specifically for and about women? And you might ask, what in the world is that? Well, there are a lot of people who have a lot of answers, including a professor I had in a graduate course on modern American fiction many years ago, when asked why there weren't any women on the syllabus, said, well, because women do not write about the important things. They do not write about power, war, and death, whereas, and politics, of course. And whereas women write about trivial things, domestic things, relationship, love, birth, and so on. So there you got it. So I don't know if that applies universally, but in this workshop we will be focusing on what we think and feel that writing for and about women is. But everybody is welcome, whether you are male or non-binary or whatever, and we hope you'll join us for a fun, friendly workshop and discussion.
Thank you, Pat. So next we have up Daryl Glennie, who has a fun class called Why Voters Have Indigestion, Bland Vegetables, Sugary Desserts, and Salty Nuts. I can't wait to hear more about that.
I'm going to stay down here too because I can see you all better. I'm back because this is an election year. After a little more than a year of some relief, thank goodness, we're back, and cheers to Eric because this is a follow-up to his class. We're back in what is our own particular American cultural hell that I think is so fraught with fear and loathing that we maybe want to make sure we get in touch with Marty and do the psychotherapy class as well. I do apologize for perhaps misleading you a little bit on the title. This actually is not a cooking class. And if you actually knew my level of cooking, you would be very, very grateful for that. But I was thinking about, I'm always trying to think of analogies or metaphors, and I thought, our election system is very much like a lot of the cooking shows, particularly Chopped. And if any of you have ever watched Chopped, the candidates are given a bunch of sort of unrelated, intractable ingredients, and they have to put them together in a fabulous meal where only one person is the winner and all the rest of them get chopped. And I thought, this is exactly what's happening to us. But I also, because for me, it also relates, I think, to the language we now use, and there's a lot written about this. If I read one more book about rural rage language or abundance, or, there are hundreds of them, all of them valuable. And in this era of perhaps a decreased level of attention and our need to get things in sound bites and listen, watch on TikTok, it's changed the way that we communicate. So this actually is a political communication class where I really am asking for your cooperation. Because out there with this endless blah, 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 what I call the blathersphere, where we don't seem to be able to talk in ways that can engage voters, this is what we're going to make ourselves into a kind of political consultant workshop. And in fact, I'm very entrepreneurial, I have to say. So as I was driving, I was thinking, we could turn this into a kind of a nonprofit, nonpartisan consulting firm that local candidates could contact us for this year, and we could talk to them about how we talk to the voters. But in any case, this is a case where, I mean, I am going to do some of the talking. That you can't make me stop. But this actually is a collaborative session, and I hope that you will. I hope that you really will actively participate. My experience with most of you is really that you don't hesitate to speak up, and you don't hesitate to tell me what you really think, and that's what we're really looking for. So we're going to talk a little bit about how the professionals, and there are. I just looked at something with Campaigns and Elections magazine. There are several thousand political consultants in the country who are creating so many of these messages, but how they approach this. And there actually is some science as well as an art. So we're going to select a couple of mythical candidates. I'm staying away from the national conversation. But we have, as you know, in West Virginia, we have federal and state primaries May 12th, I think. And then there are a handful of municipal primaries as well. So we're looking at nonpartisan local candidates, and we're just going to do some homework. I don't want to scare you, but there will be homework, so that each week we're going to take a form of political communication for one of these mythical candidates. It could be a newspaper ad, it could be a text, it could be a radio or a television spot, and we're going to look at it very rationally, very systematically. First of all, what is the objective? And we're going to talk through different kinds of objectives. Then next, a messaging concept. This is very creative. There's no right or wrong. I mean, I'm hoping that you will be free to do whatever you want. It may be funny, it may be, it could be an attack. It's all in your head, and then actually deliver it. So if it's a radio spot, you're going to have to say it and read it in class to us. If it's some sort of an ad, I'm happy to provide crayons and paper. And I don't want you to worry about that, because I work with a graphics artist all the time who is brilliant, but she laughs at me. My art skills are about at the kindergarten level. But as a writer, I can't write a communication without knowing what the image looks like. So my drafts are atrocious. So I don't care if you can color, you can however you can do this. But as a result, I think we're going to have a provocative discussion about how we can solve this problem, because it's not only in politics. It is a cultural change in our country. And I think it's important to look at it at the local level, because as you know, this is actually where the important things happen that impact our daily lives. So please do join me and promise to talk and act out and write and just bring your greatest creative skills, because I know that you all have them in this room. And our goal is to think about how candidates can get across what I call the BS barrier right now and actually talk to us like real people. So I hope I'll see you on Tuesdays from 10:30 to noon. Thanks.
Thank you, Daryl. I don't think that Peggy McCohen is here tonight, right? Yeah. But she does the CATF and Contacts course, which is a class that she runs every spring. She's the artistic director of CATF, which is the Contemporary American Theater Festival. And so we're so lucky to have her do this class every spring, where she provides the scripts of the plays that will be shown during the summer session of CATF. And they go through the scripts and they talk about the writing process and design and all sorts of things. So it's a wonderful sneak peek into the CATF process and upcoming plays. And that class, you can either do it in person, which is capped at 20, or it is open-ended for anyone who wants to do it on Zoom only. Next, yeah. Yes, okay, so the CCA building is where the Contemporary American Theater Festival takes place. So it is on West Campus, just off of 480. It's that big contemporary-looking building. And on our website, on the Lifelong Learning website, if you go to the parking page, there's a link to a campus map, and you can look on that map and it'll show you where the CCA building is. Also, I think Nicole, who helps coordinate this class with her, if you register for this class, I'm sure she will send out instructions for how to get to the building. Okay, so next we will have Doc McCluskey. There he is, always so spiffy, with Myth and Magic and Renaissance Florence.
Thank you. Can you afford a trip to Italy this year? If not, take my class. Is Florence too crowded for you now? Take my class. Does your new hip make it hard for you to climb the stairs to the Duomo? Take my class. We're going to be in 15th century Florence, realm of Botticelli, Dante, Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, wicked popes, naughty people, and the Medicis who slit people's throats and gave us the modern world at the same time. We're going to see it all through the eyes of a priest, Marcello Ficino, and he was a priest, an astrologer, a magician, translator, and a man about town at the same time. Interesting character. We're going to read his book on Plato's Symposium, which, by the way, has been banned at Texas A&M because it was. Anybody follow that story? Nobody? Yeah, Texas A&M banned plays. As somebody said, is the Iliad, the Odyssey, or next? But anyway, we're going to read a book by Marcello Ficino. And we're going to look at Renaissance paintings, Renaissance architecture, a little bit of Italian history, and we're going to see how the Renaissance was born out of the Middle Ages, how it grew, what happened. And Marcello Ficino was a character who had his fingers on the entire culture. He affected the arts, architecture, literature, and science, much like Mark at the back room of MJ's on German Street every day. A guy who didn't do much in his own realm, but affected everything else around him. So see the Renaissance through his eyes and enjoy Italy and have a little Dolce Vita with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Next up, we have Hi-Ho Silver and My Little Pony, the horse in history, sport, and culture. But Michelle could not be here tonight, so I'm just going to read about her class. And she is a horse enthusiast and really passionate about history and culture, and just a lovely human being. So explore the unique and vital role that the horse has played in our history, our culture, and our sports. Often mistakenly thought of as the purview only of the rich, the horse remains bonded into many American families, continuing the relationship which once ensured our very survival. Dressage, hunt seat, polo, fox hunting, steeplechasing, and racing will all be discussed in depth. We will also discuss horse care and safety and ethical concerns. This reprises a course first offered in the spring of 2021. Released from COVID restrictions, weekend opportunities will now be offered after the classes. You will be invited to visit a top show barn, attend a polo match, and watch a fox hunt as they share a stirrup cup and then canter off to the sound of the horn. And in June, we will be ringside for the Upperville Jumper Classic, which is the premier event of the oldest horse show in America. Personal transportation is required for those optional weekend activities. So that class is guaranteed to be a good time. We also have Fred Turco's Current International Issues Discussion Group. He was not able to be here tonight, but I thought I might invite Mark Kohut up to the stage to share a little bit about it.
Yeah. I can talk off the
Just-
cuff. I wasn't prepared, but I'll stand here. Look, you're all concerned about the modern world, right? I mean, Wolfgang knows that, and he shapes the greatest courses around their relevance for today. Fred Turco's International Discussion Group has been in existence since almost the beginning of the whole lifelong learning program. He has run it. You may know that he's retired CIA, but there are, as far as I know, no other CIA in the class. But every week we talk about people selected by raising their hand to speak the most important international issues going. We set up some possibilities to talk about in between online, but you come, people have news sources from all over. I like to joke, but it's not just a joke. We have discussions about what might happen in the Middle East when we're talking there, in Greenland recently, etc., that we learn within days is being talked about in the news. I mean, because we follow it, the people making the decisions are making it, and decisions happen. And it's Thursdays at 9, but let me also suggest that if you're not sure about, first of all, just sign up as Cafe Society. It's free to all. But sign up to get some of the communications in between. I mean, it can be your news source when you're too busy to get other news. Then show up and learn and teach us.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you going off the cuff. Okay, so next is our world geography class, which broke a lifelong learning lesson. It was sold out in the first 30 minutes. It is capped at 15, and we've got a waiting list going. Feel free to contact me or Patrick to be added to the waiting list, and then maybe we'll be able to convince John to run this class again. But in the meantime, we'll have John Spears up to talk about his class.
Thank you. So here it is.
Yeah.
Pretty neat, huh? I mean, we got the opportunity these days through Google Earth to get just all sorts of maps at our disposal that we can zoom in on, that we can zoom out on, and that's not even counting all the other websites that offer maps of this and that and the other. But geography is more than just maps. I've been messing around with history for a long time, never paid much attention to geography except sort of as a background. But when you look into it, one way of seeing geography is the why of the where, which covers just about everything when you think about it. So we'll be doing a little bit of everything in a lot of different places. We won't be able to cover all of them, 5 sessions. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Let me ask, how many people have traveled abroad, let's say, in the last 2 years or plan to in the next 2 years? Ah, yes. That's what I figured. So we'll have some opportunity for people to share some of your stories about maybe what we're talking about, be that New Zealand, for example, a couple of islands out in the Pacific. Very interesting place, all sorts of interesting places. And just for a little participation fun. Thank you. Hey, all right. Back where it started. Yes, it is oversubscribed, and hopefully we'll have a lot of fun with it. I also wanted to bring to your attention a prop from the Artful Codger's last production, which was Chekhov's a farce called The Boor. I got to play the boor and almost shoot the person that I was falling in love with. Managed to avoid that. But what happened was that this area right here became a piece of Russia, and magic carpet is what you might call it. And the Artful Codgers, as we're called, Shepherdstown Senior Theater Troupe, will take volunteers. Anyone who maybe has always thought maybe a little bit about the beauty of center stage, and believe me, it's beauteous being up here. And afterwards, people congratulate you. They're happy that you got up there when they were afraid to do it. And it isn't, in fact, all that hard. So I invite you, if there's a little theatricality in your nature that's willing to come out, to shoot me an email. It's in the catalog, and we'll see what we can do. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, John. Yeah, so in the catalog, there's a section for interest groups, and in there you can find the contact information for whoever you need to contact to be part of that group. So next up, we have Forgotten Female Artists You Should Meet. Diane Roman, who teaches that class, was not able to be here tonight, but she sent me some words to read, so I'm going to embody Diane and speak for her. Looking over the catalog for this spring session, so many wonderful offerings, it can be hard to choose. Whether you are a creative maker or not, maybe you are interested in those who have been creating in the past or shopping for a new area of interest. I encourage you to consider my upcoming class, Forgotten Female Artists You Should Meet. It is scheduled for Thursdays from 1 to 2:30 p.m. for 6 weeks. In addition to the catalog description, here are a few additional tidbits about the class. Number 1, I am organizing this course as a weekly meet and greet session. Each week, I will introduce a new selection of female artisans by discipline. Yes, painting is not the only media many artists have in the past and still do work in. I will also introduce sculptors, photographers, and craft makers from across time and place. Number 2, the time frame I am working in includes far back into antiquity and up to 1940. After 1940, the art world changed and moved from Europe to America, opening up more opportunities for women artists, many of whom are already known. No, I will not talk about Frida Kahlo or Georgia O'Keeffe. Most likely you already know a bit about each one. I am hoping to introduce you to women you may never have heard of yet, but we'll be seeing information about them in the future. Number 3, at the beginning of the class, I will also cover a general and very simplified history of the history keeping of artists and why women practitioners have often been excluded, and of how they are coming back into view and exhibitions. Number 4, as the description says, there will be no deep dives into any one artist's life or work. Hopefully you will find a balanced offering of information about each individual. My goal is to stimulate participants who want to discover more about one or more women I present. Number 5. Lastly, I can only introduce a small number of past female artists. The ones I have selected are my current favorites. You will know ahead of each class the names and basic info of who I will be covering that week. If you know of another woman artist in the time frame and discipline you think the class should be introduced to, please let me know. I will try to make available to you about 5 minutes for you to showcase that individual. You do not need to know anything about any of these women, but if you wish to check out some of the links I provide beforehand, please do so and engage in sharing what you found. I encourage class participation. In fact, I love it. I often learn so much from others. My class is limited to 15 because I wish for everyone to feel they have an opportunity to openly discuss and share. If you are not a talker, that is fine as well. The larger the group, the harder this is. The class is hybrid, so in-person and Zoom options are available, and I will try to give equal attention to everyone, whatever format you arrive in. I'm sorry I could not attend tonight's course preview. I look forward to seeing and meeting everyone in March. And those 15 seats have been filled, but if you would like to get on the wait list, again, please contact me. And she has said that if she has enough people on the wait list, then she will plan to run this class again. Okay, so next we have the Bible Reexamined, Part 2, and Randy, I believe, is also not here tonight. It's a lot of me talking now. So Randy, this is Part 2. Can anyone raise your hand if you were here for Part 1? If you were in Part 1 last semester? Yeah. So you're welcome to attend the second part of this, whether you participated in the fall course or not. He will do an overview of that first part. Which includes Eve as a hero, not a villain, plus how the Bible was formed and how it regrettably became the Word of God. It's a human product. Part 2 features a conversation around the second half of the book, which features, this is going over his book that Randy wrote, called The Bible Reexamined. So the second half of the book, which features Jesus and the Gospels. What actually are the Gospels, if not historical? Is Jesus historical or fictional? Was Jesus born of a virgin? Did Jesus die for our sins? Is the resurrection fact or fiction? Is Jesus the way, the truth, and the life? If not, what is? Sorry, no spoiler from Randy. Is Jesus coming back? How can we repair the world? So he was at the Presbyterian Church for decades, seems like 42 years, yes. So he's very well known in the community and thought very highly of. So if you are interested, that class is in person only on Fridays. And then next we have Bill Martin with Gear Up, a fun guide to cars and the automotive industry, Part 2.
Hello, Mark. I know Mark from the International Studies class. So anyway, my name is Bill Martin, and I taught an auto class back in the fall, and I'm going to teach a part 2 of that that's Fridays at 12 noon in this building. So I assume everybody here owns an SUV or a crossover? Yes? No, of course not. So we're going to do it. We're going to do an extreme deep dive into crossovers. We're going to do a big deep dive into what's called a midsize SUV. Think the Honda Pilot, for example. And we're going to do the same with full-size SUVs, the Chevrolet Suburban, Ford Expedition, and whatnot. We'll talk about with the full-size SUVs how General Motors absolutely dominates that class in a huge way. So, and Toyota's nowhere with the full-size SUVs. They have one, but they're not successful with it now. And we're going to talk about safety features. We're not going to talk about tech safety features that have started appearing on a car since 2016 or so. We're going to go into a deep dive of safety features you probably don't even know is in your vehicle, and will save your life. So, I'm going to read a short thing here. It's kind of funny. So, we're also going to talk about a bunch of stories related to autos. So gas cap on the driver or the passenger side? Anyone really care? Yes. Well, I heard somebody over here. Yes. How come?
It's more convenient on the driver's side.
Interesting. Okay. A woman told me at a gas station that she insists the gas cap must be on the driver's side. Her rationale was she often has her infant granddaughter in the SUV. She said if she is filling up on the driver's side, she can more effectively tackle a carjacker. No joke. It actually makes sense. So, and the convenience does too. So, anyway, Toyota and Honda products have the gas cap on the driver's side. And as Subaru owners, I know we live in Shepherdstown, so got to be a lot of Subaru owners here. You know it's on the passenger side, right? Might want to start writing to them. Volkswagen and the German models are also on the passenger side. Can anybody here tell me why, the major reason why the German cars have the gas cap on the passenger side? Anyone know? Can figure it out? No, Britain. Malaysia. The reason is because the Germans are exceptionally careful with safety. And if you're on the Autobahn, and you run out of gas, and you can pull over to the emergency lane, and somebody brings you a 5-gallon gas can, you can fill it and not get hit.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have Pam Clark talking about short stories into film, the science fiction version.
I should tell. I did short story into film last semester, and we did short story into film last semester, and I did Bringing Up Baby and Rear Window and All About Eve. So I very much enjoy teaching adaptation. I taught that when I taught at the community college, and so this time I thought I would do a spin-off on that and go to science fiction from short story into film. And I'm sure many people find that a very lowbrow sort of endeavor, but these movies will disabuse you of that information. And many of you already know this symbol, this iconic salute, Live Long and Prosper, from Star Trek. 60 years that has been in popular culture. So, it has a lot of longevity. And this, I was once able to wear this. It says Klaatu Barada Nikto. And it is endemic into the first movie I'd like to talk about, The Day the Earth Stood Still. And it is Gort, the alien, is forestalled from his activity by this particular phrase. And just so you know that adaptation is very flexible. I also am pulling so hard for the actress who plays Shakespeare's wife to win for Hamlet. And I just finished the book as well. It's brilliant. I think I'd like to do that for an adaptation another time. And also The Princess Bride, because the book from which that is taken is whack-doodle amazing. So, but the first one I would like to talk about is The Day the Earth Stood Still, a 1951 black and white movie, Cold War movie, directed by Robert Wise, who went on to direct The Sound of Music, also worked on Citizen Kane and West Side Story. So a very influential director. it talks about, it's the first contact movie with humanity and extraterrestrials. And it has people in it like Michael Rennie, they got a British actor to play the alien, so the audience would be unfamiliar with it. When they did the remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still in, I don't know, whenever that was, they chose Keanu Reeves, the guy from The Matrix. Miserable movie, and not a very good alien because everybody knows it. And also in this movie there is an Einstein figure played by Sam Jaffe, who was Dr. Zorba on Ben Casey, and also Aunt Bee from makes an appearance as well as the Every Woman. It won a Golden Globe for promoting international understanding, and other films like Lilies of the Field have done the same thing. It didn't win the Saturn Award, which was Best Science Fiction Movie, because the award hadn't been invented yet. It's on the National Film Registry for cultural and historically and aesthetically significant movies. The short story was written by Harry Bates, who was also one of the screenwriters. The short story appeared in science fiction magazine, and it's called Farewell to the Master. And in the Gort, the robot, is essentially a policeman in the 1951 film, but he plays a very, very different role in the short story. It's a phenomenal short story. So there we have that. And then I chose Minority Report, a Philip K. Dick short story, and he was a master of science fiction short story. He wrote 45 novels and 221 short stories. He had many movies were made of his short stories. This is, I think, the most significant one. Directed by Spielberg, and for which he won Best Director, and John Williams won for the soundtrack for this movie. And it's after War of the Worlds, Spielberg wouldn't work with Tom Cruise anymore, just so you know. Little tidbits like that I'll drop in for you. And the premise of this is not first contact, but it takes, like Star Trek, a contemporary problem and extrapolates it into the future. In this film, the premise is there's been a shift in crime detection. There are three sort of, mutant precogs who are able to see the future in it's a very time-sensitive way, within the next hour or so. And they alert somebody, and then the police go out and capture that person before the crime is committed. So we believe in innocent until proven guilty. This blows that all up, and people are incarcerated for life after they have been, the precogs have perceived that you will commit a crime. So it's a lovely short story as well. It was a Critics' Choice Award. It won the Saturn Award for the Best Science Fiction Film. And in 2002, it was nominated for Best Picture, but Beautiful Mind won that in 2002. And the year that The Day the Earth Stood Still was in the movies, the Best Picture was American Paris, so not very science fiction. Okay, Arrival. This movie I choose because Cindy and Leslie Miller said, "Oh, you're doing that? You should do this. You should do this movie." So okay. So I went and looked at it, and then I read the short story and thought, "Oh, wow, this is pretty. This will knock your socks off." It's a first contact movie. 12 vessels arrive on the planet, and we the humans are trying to communicate with these people, and it's Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner, I think. And the problem is we don't have any language that approximates theirs. So there's a linguist, Amy Adams, and a physicist, Jeremy Renner, who were supposed to try and crack the code, figure out how to talk with these people. But it's not just about communication, it's also about time. It says mind-bending, cerebral, science fiction, mystery, dealing with time perception and alien contact. The Golden Globe nominee, but it got a lot of Oscar nods. It got 8, in fact, Oscar nods. One was for Best Picture, but Spotlight won that year for the sex scandal with the Boston Globe people. It was also nominated for Best Director for Denis Villeneuve and the Best Adapted Screenplay. And the short story it comes from is from Ted Chiang, The Story of Your Life, which is really, it is a mind-bending short story that takes a lot of, I mean, I'm an English major. I had classes in grammar and linguistics. One of the things I had to do for a final exam was to do the, what I used to call it, when you had to parse sentences and say this is whatever that stuff is for that preamble to the Constitution. So I have these skills, and it was intense. But it'll be a lot of fun, and I always, in the last class, bring in a cake, professionally created, and that's a lot of fun too.
All right, thank you. So Mike Rock just stepped out, so we'll come back to him and jump ahead to Matt Cradle in his financial retirement planning today. Oh, there's Mike. We're going to come right back to you.
Hello, my name is Matt Cradle, and I teach the retirement planning class. You know, everyone wants to quit their day job and do what they actually want to do during the day. So that this class talks about the finance of that. In its basic form is kind of the basic personal finance that you should have had when you were in high school, your junior year, but you didn't have because they never taught it. So, but the class is two days. It's 2 Thursdays. They're 3 hours, and 2 3-hour classes on Thursday night for one, and the other one is on a Saturday. So the first class entails kind of, how retirement has changed in the United States. Also talks about Social Security, pensions, what kind of accounts are out there, how they're different, how to put money into it, how to take money out. So I do that class with my partner Jake, and then the next class is I do that one with an attorney that comes to it. And I talk about investments, the psychology of investments, also the history of it too, taxes, insurance, and then the attorney does estate planning. So it sounds like it's boring, but we try to make it as fun as it can be. But it's a super informative one, so I hope you all come to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, next we have Mike Rock with Trump and the rise of an illiberal and anti-democratic intellectual elite. It's a lot of big words.
So I'm working my way through a book that I'm writing on democracy and development. And in the fall, I taught a course on democracy and development. This piece here is probably going to be the penultimate chapter in that book. And what the book focuses on is the rise of this illiberal, anti-democratic elite that has emerged under Trump. Now, there's always been this problem of the American right, where folks are xenophobic, racist, isolationist, the list could go on. The difference this time is these folks are in the halls of power. They have taken over the Republican Party, and they're all through the administration. So what I want to do in this course is identify where do these folks come from? And it turns out, and what positions do they hold? They come from a variety of places. One is the Claremont Institute in Southern California. Claremonters are West Coast Straussians. And if you know anything about a Straussian, Straussians have a tendency to lean towards conspiracy theory. So these folks are conspiracy theorists, they're cultural warriors, and they don't give a damn about democracy. There are 31 of them currently in the Trump administration. The second group is, they're called post-liberals. And post-liberals are folks who don't believe in democracy, don't believe in pluralism, don't believe in toleration. Their view is that democracy, toleration, and pluralism have failed. And that it's time for the emergence of a new elite that will replace the existing elite, and this new elite are referred to as aristopopuli. They're an elite that will do the bidding of the bulk of the population. There are two books in this vein. One is a very famous book entitled Why Liberalism Failed. The author is Patrick Deneen, and he's a political philosopher at Notre Dame. He wrote a second book a couple of years later entitled Regime Change. All right, that's the post-liberals. Then there are national conservatives. The National Conservatives' Bible is a book titled The Vision of Nationalism by an Israeli who argues that nation states are what keep the globe together. And under his view of nation states is a kind of ethno-religious domination. So in this view, America was founded as a white Christian country. The Declaration of Independence was never meant for African Americans in this view. So rather than adopt a creedal definition of American identity, there is a blood and soil white Christianity definition. The third group in this group, the fourth group is Catholic integralists. The Catholic integralists are folks who believe that the principles of Catholicism need to be mainstreamed in American government, so that abortion would be illegal, gay marriage would be illegal, pornography would be illegal, and it's not that we would have a theocratic state in that the folks who would dominate would be priests or bishops or the Pope, but that Catholic intellectuals would take over the government. They would creep in and capture the institutions. The next group in this is a group that's committed to what's called common good constitutionalism. And common good constitutionalism comes from a Harvard law professor by the name of Adrian Vermeil. He's also a Catholic integralist. By the way, J.D. Vance is a Catholic integralist. And he's not the only one in the administration that is a Catholic integralist. The common good constitutionalists believe they have the definition for what the common good is. And they want to impose it on the American public. And their view is that their imposition is the action of a father to his children. And that his children will be comfortable learning how to live under the rule of law of common good constitutionalism. Now, what do these guys oppose? Immigration, globalization, free trade, imperialism. What do they mean by imperialism? Imperialism is any multilateral institution. So NATO is an imperial institution. The European Union is an imperial institution. The United Nations is an imperial institution. And all of those need to go by the wayside. They oppose secularism, and they oppose the separation of church and state. The Catholic integralists argue that, well, we know that in the past, the church was to deal with the spirit, and the government was to deal with earthly things. Under Catholic integralism, since the spirit is more important than earthly things, the spirit should take over. So they don't agree that there should be a separation of church and state. They're opposed to interventionist foreign policy and all the darn bad wars that Iraq and Afghanistan and Vietnam. They're opposed to what's called old Republican Confucianism. And old Republican Confucianism is Ronald Reagan and William Buckley. Social conservatism, free markets, and anti-communism. Let's see, what do they favor? Social conservatism, economic nationalism, isolationism, ethnic nationalism, xenophobia, and the restoration of religion in its proper place. So that's what we will do in this course. We'll spend time on each of these groups and what they have to say about, and again, the big danger is they have penetrated the state. They have a long-run strategy. They call it a long-run march through our institutions. They want to capture them. Now, this will require a couple of more terms of Republican presidencies and Republican Congresses. They look to the New Deal. It was how many terms that FDR had? 4? They look to that. They need something like that so they can sustain their long march through the institutions. And it's America that I want no part of.
Tell them what time it is.
Are you wondering what time that class is?
It's Friday afternoon.
It is Friday afternoon. He keeps it lively. Don't worry. So I'll let you all read about the Fastener Open Lab and the Mixed Media Mayhem, because I appreciate your patience, and I'm sure we all want to get to having some snacks. There is one spot left as of the beginning of this course preview in the Mixed Media Mayhem, so maybe it's still there. Anyway. But she also teaches the same class in Martinsburg, so if you want to take the class, get on the waiting list, and then she'll add you to that. She can add you to that one. The last thing I will just read is about the Wild Writers Retreat at Capon Springs and Farms. Denise is sick, but she sent me in a little something to read about it. So I will read her words. My name is Denise Kupaszewski, and I am facilitating the Writers Retreat on May 3rd through 6th at Capon Springs and Farms near Wardensville, West Virginia. Some of you may know or recognize me as a potter and artist at the Mud Peddler, but I am also a writer with 3 books published, a 4th in editing, and 1 story published in the 2025 Anthology of Appalachian Writers. It's called Face Jug. So why a writer's retreat? Because every writer needs to incorporate at least one opportunity to run away and write each year. A good writer's retreat can be an extraordinary experience. The magic is in the absolute, uninterrupted time. It is the chance to suspend distractions and focus exclusively on your writing, accepting permission to leave your daily life behind to exist solely as an artist. The location provides a tranquil park-like setting with quaint lodging and home-style meals served in a large dining hall. It is slipping back in time to a simpler era. There are activities like hiking, golf, and even a bathhouse and spa on the grounds, as well as the mountain spring water that flows throughout the resort, including their pure Capon Springs water pool. During our retreat, at least 2 guest presenters, local award-winning authors, will present literary lessons. Writing exercises or prompts will be offered daily. Attendees can present their work in progress for peer review, and the group will gather in the evenings to network and share experiences. Primarily, each individual will be able to deep dive into their work or start a story, memoir, or novel. It could be the kick in the pants your inspiration and motivation need. The Shepherd University Lifelong Learning Writers Retreat is not only budget-friendly, but also a productive learning experience. I invite you to join us. So thank you all for hanging out and hearing about all of our wonderful classes that will start March 16th. Feel free to find me afterwards if you need any help registering or have any questions. And please join us across the hall for some food and beverages. So thank you. Thank you.